Pastor King Newman is influencing the online world for Christ Jesus. You are watching a global voice.
There are some people who think that until you say speak it and say it, you're not reading the Bible. That's old English. So Paul is saying, I'm praying for Israel that they might be saved. Israel. Do you understand Israel? Israel, these are the people of God. The last set of people to understand what God is doing are God's people. You didn't get that? Because they are so used to God's way of doing things that when God says there is a change, they don't want to adjust. He said, I'm praying for Israel that they may be saved. They have a zeal towards God. But he says, this zeal is not according to knowledge.
Pastor King Newman is influencing the online world for Christ Jesus. You are watching a global voice.
The Jews had their own kind of righteousness. Righteousness by the law. Christ is the end of the law for righteousness. Do you understand that? He says there was a time that if you wanted to be righteous, you had to obey the law. But after Christ came, God says, now, if you want to live righteous, it has to be by our own terms, not by the law. The self-righteousness, which is your personal righteousness. And God says that one is like what? Filthy rag. Then you have another kind of righteousness, which is righteousness by the law. After Jesus came,
Pastor King Newman is influencing the online world for Christ Jesus. You are watching a global voice.
Christ is the end of the law for righteousness. That means after Christ came, if you wanted to obtain righteousness from God by obeying the law, God says, I don't accept it. What is the God kind of righteousness? What is the God kind of righteousness? See, when you understand the God kind of righteousness, you understand why it's a huge blessing. Righteousness is a huge blessing. James chapter 5 verse 16, it talks about the fact that the prayer of a righteous man avails much. There are many people who are praying. The only reason why God will hear you is because you are righteous. So we need to understand what is righteousness.
Pastor King Newman is influencing the online world for Christ Jesus. You are watching a global voice.
The kind of righteousness that God accepts right now is not your self-righteousness. It's not the righteousness by the law. It's righteousness by faith. This is huge. Why is it a blessing? There's a man, he's so notorious. He's so bad. This man walks into a meeting where someone is preaching that if you believe in Jesus today, you will receive righteousness. And the man says, even though I've done all the bad things in this world, I believe. In God's kind of righteousness, righteousness by faith, what God does is to justify the ungodly.